Good evening, everyone. Would you please? Today is August 16. We are going to start the meeting at 6:45 p.m. Will you please, Councilman Romero, can you guide us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, may I give the closed session report?
Yes, will you please?
Thank you. Council met in closed session and discussed items. Item A, all of the cases. On item B, they discussed 3 cases. Items C and D, those items were removed from the closed session agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. Okay, I'm going to call for the order. I believe everybody's here. I would like to call the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Let's call for the vote. It doesn't work. Okay. Okay. Okay, we have public comments. Note, public comments are welcome. The speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please complete a speaker form prior to the start of the meeting. If your item you wish to comment on is closed session item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comments when we get to the item on the agenda. And I believe we have, let's see, public comment, City Council public comment. Luis Fuentes, will you please come up to the podium?
It's the old way.
The old way.
The old way.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, fellow council members, City Manager, City Attorney, and our City Clerk. I wanted to take this opportunity to really congratulate some of the young Calexico citizens that you see in the audience today. Again, Luis Fuentes, 1253 Iris Avenue, representing today the Calexico Parents Athletic League and the group of parents that we encompass, over 4,000 Calexico residents and hundreds of our Calexico's youth. But you'll see some of these young men that are sitting down with a blue medal around their neck, and they are the first place champions of it's called the National Congress of State Games, and they just won in San Diego, beating out a lot of other teams, and this is our own Calexico teams. Would you stand up, please? I want everyone to know who you are. National champions. They're about 14 years old, right? Their coach is Felipe Mesa. Can you stand up? I will tell you, these young athletes, they do a lot of justice because they're playing against teams that practice maybe all year round in green areas that are landscaped and they're nice, they're practice uniforms, and our young kids are, they're practicing on, retention basins, some with grass, some without. but they do a lot. And so I wanted to recognize them. We also have a second place national championship team, which is coached by Enrique Bojorquez. Kiki. Is the team also here? Would you stand up? You guys second place national champions. And I'll tell you, we had another group that also placed in the National League, and they're coached by Roberto Moiron. He coaches young 7- and 8-year-olds, and they won 3 out of 4 games. Are they also here? Would you stand up, little guys? Proudly showing their medals. And we had assistant coaches Fabián Valenzuela and Gerardo Acosta also that were part of this award. And another one of our 17, 18-year-olds got 3rd place in national champions, and they're coached by Cristian Martinez. So just wanted to bring this to light because we're very proud of these young athletes. We're very proud of what they do. They won the hearts of a lot of the fans that were out there. They didn't know where Calexico was, but they know where it is now. They know where it is now. These are young athletes that are on their way to becoming greater stars and doing a lot of good things in their life. A lot of these young athletes were invited by Isaac Acuna, as you know, the professional soccer player who's in the Mexican National League. He distributed 50 passes to go watch their game, Atlas versus America, a couple weeks ago, and so about 50 of the athletes got to go to Los Angeles and watch them play, and he donated those tickets, so we're grateful for him for that too. So just so that they can see that they can come out and be in the pro leagues. That's it for me. I don't know if I think there's another public comment, but thank you for the time. Thank you for these guys, and thanks for the donations.
Okay, it's already 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, Carmen Estrada, will you please? I have another request from Carmen Estrada. It's going to be es para el mismo tema.
Sí, yo nada más quiero pues darle las gracias a los patrocinadores. Por ejemplo, Willy Hermosillo fue una persona que estuvo con nosotros en lo del car wash, que este trabajo es de los papás, la verdad. Todo el trabajo fue de nosotros, los papás, para llevar a cabo esta liga. Y gracias al Departamento de Policía por donarnos balones, a la Asociación de Policía, a la Universidad de San Diego, y hay bastantes donadores que han llegado hacia nosotros dándonos producto. Yo la verdad estoy muy emocionada porque cada día esto triunfa porque está la comunidad unida, y mientras nosotros estemos unidos, el pueblo sigue creciendo. Yo les digo, papás, hay que tener confianza en nosotros vamos a seguir trabajando y luchando para seguir adelante para nuestras familias y la comunidad. Y les invito el sábado a las 9 de la mañana, que va a ser una campaña de forestación que la vamos a formar los papás aquí en Calexico, en 2 parques, que es Camila y Andrade, y Rosas y Andrade. Se van a plantar 30 árboles, que es con lo que vamos a continuar para seguir luchando. Gracias.
Gracias, sí. Okay, any comments to my left, Councilman Bill Hodge?
That's me. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Yes, as far as council comments, I just want to extend my congratulations to Nick Finley and his staff. And Maritza's been pushing on this. For me, I've been seeing it's a wonderful weed abatement. As I live in the east side of town, close to Balca.
Excuse me, Councilman.
Yeah.
Bill Hodge, and I apologize to everybody. My question is comments regarding the teams.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
To this issue, I'm sorry. I didn't mention about.
I'm over 50, and there was a moment there. That's okay. I've got my senior pill.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud about all the young athletes of the city of Calexico, and this is something that motivates me as a citizen, as a mayor. I'm feel very proud of you because, I mean, you are young kids. You are the future of the city of Calexico, and I want you to know that there's so many people I know that they feel proud about you guys. So I would like to give you a big applause because you're doing very good. Okay. The next item is general comments by city council members, board members.
So just to continue,
No, you know what? I apologize again. There is some oral communications request from. I'm sorry. There is some requests, oral communication. The next is Ricardo Ortega. Would you please come to the podium? No problem.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman, very briefly, I passed out and I left a report for each one of you. I just wanted to tell you what it was about very briefly. Yes, that's it. Essentially, there was two university of students from UC Irvine and that did a research study on the health services available here in Imperial County and Mexicali. We're going to be translating that into Spanish and begin to provide that information to the general community in Calexico. So I just wanted you to present that to you, and it's a very, very good study. Because it emphasizes health services in Mexicali and what's available there, and also what's available in Imperial County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, you have a question?
Mr. Ortega, you say this is a study that was done by students of the UC Riverside?
Yeah.
Are they here today?
No, actually, they put in about 100 hours during the summer. One of them has already gone back to UCI, and the other one is also beginning to go back also.
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor, it would be prudent and positive on our part to invite him to the city council for them to make a presentation of their findings. I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Councilman Moreno, for your advice. Okay, our next request from June Kim. Will you please come to the podium? That's okay.
My name is John Kim.
John, will you please stop for a little while? Yes, please. And thank you for being here. And thank you for your support. Damn, va a quedar solo. Va a quedar solo. Yeah, that's what I said. We should call him back. So we can have an audience.
It would be my pleasure.
Yes, please. Okay, Mr. King, can you start?
Good evening, and honorable city council members and honorable citizens of the Calexico. My name is John Kim. I'm here as citizens, as an individual. One of the things, students are already left, but that is another proof. Our children is very talented, and we have there to them to support them to be better. They have proved they could be better. If the city to support them, they can do better than right now. And I hopefully we can achieve that one to connect to the academic their performance too. And one of the reasons I'm here, the major H. With crossing guard issues, been submitted major H's 5 times, and they still cannot make the decision. And I was requesting Mr. Castro to put in the agenda, City Council. I believe Mr. Castro was requested it to the City Council agenda. I thought they're going to be here, but it's not in there. Some of the people, they might going to say, though I'm not impatient. But when I see safety of the children and the street, I want that service as soon as possible as a clear signal. And if the major HG, they cannot do it, I believe the city council, they have to step into taking care of that, safety of the children. And I have another information to the city. I found one of my friends sent me the information about the grant, and the fire department's grant is $380 million grant by the FEMA. They have all the equipment, even the equipment that you can buy. So I like to share with the city. The $380 million FEMA grant is there. So I don't know if our staff can work or fire department can work. I hopefully this information to valuable for our city to help the fire departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. We have another request from Daniel Chaires. Will you please come to the podium?
Hello, everyone. City Council, I'm happy to be here, and I respectfully have much respect to all of you, and City Manager, Mr. Rodriguez. The reason I am here, I want to just ask you questions in regards to license fees. I want to make it real clear that I'm not here to argue or to cause any problems or conflicts. I'm pretty sure you have ran into this situation before where the processing of the license fees has seemed to take long periods of time. And then I get the vibe that sometimes people from the planning or whoever other department is involved seems to take a little process a little longer than normal. And the reason why I say that was because when I went to apply for a city license over in City Hall Central, I went in there one day, and the following day they had the license ready for me. All I had to do was just pay for it. They had a well-timed ordinance in their staff. People there knew what everything was all about, and they were real courteous in helping you out to apply and to help you fill in your application for a license fee. Something that I don't see here in the city of Calexico. The city of Central has seemed to be real polite and encouraging to open up a new business. Something that I don't see here. And I'm here just to let you guys know about that. Again, I'm not here to argue or to cause any problems. I'm just asking, is there anything being worked at around that area or that department or departments that this might bring the city of Calexico a little faster to get businesses going? And that's all I have to say.
Hey, thank you for that information. Okay, our next item is general comments by city council members, board members. I'm going to start to my left. Will you please, Councilman Bill Hash?
Thank you, Mayor Castro. No, once again, I just wanted to thank, and I'm sure my colleagues agree with this, Dick Finley and his staff for really expediting on the weed abatement. I mean, I'm seeing great results as I go east on Cole towards Bowker. There's a lot of great cleanup, and it looks wonderful. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much, and I'm sure the citizens appreciate that. Wonderful job, City Manager, on the City Manager's report. But just an additional request, because I keep having people approach me, just an update, even if there hasn't been any progress on the pool. And the other item is I've been approached by a concerned citizen. I wasn't even aware of this, so I'll admit it. But supposedly a few years back, there was an ordinance passed dealing with taxi meters that we were going to have them. I don't know. I don't know enough detail. Could anybody expound on that? This concerned citizen wanted to know what the status was.
I believe, if I may interject.
Go ahead.
Chief Nujar had put together an ordinance, as you recall, Madam City Attorney, that by a certain date, speaking of the devil walking through the door, by a certain date, meters would be required for all taxi cabs. And I'm not sure what date that was or what year it was, but we had discussed it several years back, Mr. Hodge.
Okay. So,
There's somebody with some knowledge.
It was until 2012 that he had extended that till, because I don't think that they have the resources in place to regulate that. So that was the reason.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Councilman Moreno? Do you have
Yes, I'd like
comments?
to also echo on some of the congratulations that Mr. Hodge gave to the weed abatement. Also, Nick Finley, Peter Castro, who's sitting in for him. Is that correct? Thank you, Peter. Mr. Castro. Another Mr. Castro. And also just welcome everybody back. School is going to start. And I'm sure a lot of you parents are grateful that the summer is over, as I am. And hopefully this will be a good school year for all our school children. And I applaud the efforts of our school board member, Mr. Jung Kim, who was out in the audience there trying to make it happen, trying to get everything together for the school district. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado, do you have comments?
I don't have any comments because I wanted to comment to the kids, congratulations on their hard work. But besides that, no comments.
Thank you. You have another comment?
No, that's okay.
No? Mayor, I'm sorry?
They'll see the video.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
I guess this goes to Police Chief Nujar. You won't be surprised by, where are you? I received a report that there are no more meter readers out there. Meter readers.
Parking meter.
Parking meter.
Parking meters.
Parking meter.
Right.
Yes, there is.
That there is. Can you, what is their per se job description when they're out there? Do they do any police enforcement functions?
Well, they're parking enforcement officers, so they're
But-
there to enforce the parking regulations and some city code violations.
Some city code violations as well?
Correct.
We also talked about some time ago about maybe using different coins,
Yes.
like a nickel and a dime.
It takes, unfortunately, it costs money to rent the machine to change the meters.
I thought you had that device in the police department.
No, we have to rent it from the company. And so it's supposed to be being done. There's 601 meters, and so they're working on this.
But the changing of it is very simple for nickels and dimes, right?
The change of it is simple. It's an electronic wand.
Right.
And then it requires us to touch each machine and then test it to make sure that it takes the new program. So yes, it's in the process, but it still hasn't been done.
I'm sure I'm not alone that when I go out to downtown and I need to put some coins in, I don't have any quarters and I just have nickels and dimes. And should I send any parking violations to you? Or?
It's the same. I carry a quarter with me everywhere I go. But you're wrong.
Anyway, if you can please look into it, because it is if I'm going through it, I'm sure tons of other people are going through it, and they're taking a risk of if they should get a fine or not because they don't have any quarters in their pocket.
I agree.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Manager Rodriguez. Yes. I'm going to bring up the subject again about the pavement on Cole Road between Imperial Avenue and past Martin Luther King. I was reading an article in the American City and County in July 2011 issue, and it says, the title of it, The Cost of Procrastination. The article begins with, left the roads in poor condition and costs to repair those roads are rising faster. And I just took that excerpt. This reminded me of the request of when Cole Road was going to be paved in that area. I cannot imagine that there's, you were going to do a study, or somebody was going to do a study, and I can't imagine that there's another road within the city limits of Calexico that requires this kind of repair, that has comparable traffic activity on it, that this thing cannot be done. I mean, there's already Measure D monies available to do this project, I'm sure.
You know, we were hoping that the awards would take place by June 30th. Unfortunately, that has not happened, and the latest information we have is those awards will be provided by the end of September. But certainly, there's no reason why we have to wait for the study. So if that's your desire, we'll start working on that particular aspect of that roadway. The idea was obviously to have a comprehensive plan, but certainly we can't wait forever. I understand that. The repairs become exponentially more costly if we wait too long. So hear you loud and clear, and there's no reason to wait on that one.
Thank you, sir. I was present at the supervisors meeting this morning. In fact, I just happened to walk in when Mr. Oscar Gonzalez back there was present sharing his concerns. So while he was sharing his concerns, it allowed me some time to get there to share some my concerns as far as the 4 plans for the redistricting that the County Board of Supervisors were going through. The 2 that were most talked about was Plan A and Plan B. Plan A was going to divide the, or Plan 1 and Plan 4. Plan 1 was going to divide the city of Calexico through the railroad tracks, with the west side of the railroad tracks going to District 2. I believe it's District 2. Plan 4 was to lose the northeast section of the city of Calexico to District 5. Now, just to let you know that after some debate within the supervisors, and again, I don't know who spoke before Mr. Gonzalez, but as far as, and myself, but just to let you know that it was approved to go with Plan 4. Plan 4 will involve the a northeast corner. What it does, it goes along Cole Road, but it comes south towards the American Canal, and just south of the American Canal, this is along Andrade, just south of the American Canal on Turquoise Road, or Turquoise Street, or Avenue, whatever it's called, and anything north of that, and plus the northeast corner, and it'll also include the Hearthstone residential area, which Councilwoman Hurtado will now be part of District 5. Anyway, the vote was cast 3-2 with Supervisor Renison, Supervisor Castillo, and Gary Wyatt and Terrazas voted for Plan 1. And who's the other? Who's the missing one? I'm sorry.
Kelly.
Kelly, Renison, and Castillo went for Plan 4. So anyway, that's what was approved, in case you get any information in regards to it.
So, if I may ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so along Cole Road and east of 111 is the only...
Along Cole Road and east of Andrade.
Well, Cole Road, north of Cole Road, east of 111,
Yes,
then go down Meadows, cross the American Canal, and then go down Turquoise, going east, and all that quadrant there would be now part of District 5.
yes.
Did they give a population amount of how many homes or how many people have been affected?
I was not present for those numbers. I don't know if Mr. Gonzalez remembers those numbers.
Did Mr. Renison speak on how that would affect the city, either positively or negatively?
I did have some discussions with Supervisor Renison, and he himself favored the Plan 4.
Favored that move? Okay, and I hope that maybe we can maybe get a map for our particular purposes to take a look at that more closely to see what part of the city is in District 5.
Maybe former Supervisor Tirado can share.
And former Mayor Tirado.
Mr. Romero's right. And the thing really you have to look at Imperial Avenue 111 coming south, okay? Anything to the east of that is going to go to District 5, up to Cole Road, all the way east to the Andrade Avenue. Then it goes south and use the All-American Canal as a dividing line, and all that goes into District 5.
Now, this is for, if I may ask a question, this is for county and IID purposes or just county purposes?
This is just county.
The IID is something totally separate.
No, the IID, it's going to follow a different pattern, I'm sure.
I think the IID already splits Calexico, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
But it'll be formed by the county, so.
Now, one of the comments that was shared there is that when I saw the maps, I saw that El Centro, if I'm not mistaken, is divided by 3 supervisors. And they were looking for some kind of a similar impact for the city of Calexico, since it was the fastest growing city in the Imperial Valley. And they were looking to maybe divide it as of now, and my comment to that was, city of Calexico has been used to having only 1 supervisor all these years. And going to 2 is already going to be a change, and the city needs to get accustomed to it. And now if in 10 years from now, there's a new census that dictates that the city of Calexico goes to 3 supervisors, then let it happen then, not right now. Anyway, just to give you that report. Yes, now we have, for the city of Calexico, Supervisor District 1, Renison, and Supervisor District 5, Castillo, representing the city of Calexico.
Okay, good. Well, I'm sure they'll represent us well.
I'm sure.
We'll have 2 voices now in the county.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that information, Mayor Pro Tem Romero. Okay, I only have one question to Public Work Director, I believe, Nick Finley.
He's not here?
He's not here? About Peter Castro. I believe Emerson is being repaired for almost 4 months or 5 months ago.
Emerson has been repaired close to 6 months.
6 months. Mm-hmm. Okay, because there is a big hole on 7th Street.
Yes, there's a hole on 7th Street.
And also close to 98, beside El Sol Market. And my question is, does the city have some policy or guarantee that these people who come to Calexico and fix those streets, that, I mean, because I saw some employees from the city doing some patches on that street. Can you tell us, is this is kind of guarantee, or there is a policy that these people need to come and fix the street, or?
Let me elaborate a little bit, Mr. Mayor. We did that for temporary repairs, so there won't be no potholes. John Cochran from API or Manhole will be down this fall to redo the repairs that are needed, the proper repairs. But it's just a patchwork for right now, so there won't be potholes out there.
Because the problem is still there for...
Right.
Right?
Right.
So these people are going to come to...
Yes, we're going to be putting caps on it.
Okay, and when it's going to be?
John Cochran?
Yes.
He'll be down here in October, November. That's what Nick told me.
Until October and November.
Between that period.
Because
of the weather. The asphalt that's used settles better when it cools down versus in the heat. In the heat, it'll just sag and start moving with the vehicle traffic on it.
May I?
Yes, please. So
Why, if we know this, why would the repair be done before summer instead of after summer?
The cooler weather.
It was done some months ago with the summer coming up.
Right. But it settles down, it sets, the asphalt set, it gives it time to set. In the summer weathers, with the heat that we have here, it doesn't set properly.
Then
It
why
tends
not
to
do
sag.
repairs of pavement after the summer?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be October or November when they're going to do the repair.
No. When the repair was done already in Imperial Avenue. When was that done?
That was done in the summer at night. And they probably used different materials than we used on Emerson.
Oh, Emerson has some repairs?
Yeah.
Emerson has repairs?
Yes.
Wow, that was a big project.
Right. And it's only on two ends, on 7th Street and on right before you get to Highway 98.
On Emerson.
It's at the stop of 7th and that's the stop of Highway 98.
So that's the earliest they can repair it?
Yes.
Their recommendation.
So,
Is there a guarantee, as he was asking?
Yes.
Okay.
so we need to wait 2 months. So
Well,
they
we're going to be putting caps on there so there won't be no potholes. That's why you see the city crews out there repairing those.
Okay, but it needs to repair
Of course.
right away.
Absolutely.
Because it's been like that for so many days, so I believe weeks. So, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
my concern. And also, but is there any guarantee?
Yes, there's warranty.
Okay,
Okay.
so we need to wait 2 months. Okay. Okay, next item, consent agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 7, 9, and 10.
Okay, 7, 9, and 10, okay?
Wait. Where are we?
Moreno,
You want to pull 7,
Moreno.
9, and 10?
okay? Who
Hold on.
else?
See. Pull 3, 4.
3, 4. About Village?
Oh, and,
Council,
and
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. And 17.
7?
17.
Oh, 17.
17.
On the, it's on the, way on the background.
Second page.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other items being pulled, I'd like to approve the rest.
Okay, yeah, can you wait for a little while, please?
Well, name them, John.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pick one. No.
You don't have-
I'd like to pull number 14, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, no.
About Councilwoman Maritza, would you like? No?
I'm fine. I already clarified something here.
Okay, well, before start with to approve the consent items, I would like to make a comment. City Attorney, I would like, that's my point of view, I would like to pull number 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14.
Which one?
For 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14.
2, 3, 12, 13, and 14.
Yes, I would like to pull those items for a special meeting because I believe there is so much information that we need to discuss. I don't know if I need to make a motion on that before pass the consent agenda or let the council, the colleagues to continue with this consent. That's my question, City Attorney.
But because these are items on the agenda, if the majority of the council is ready to approve these, then they can approve them. Calling a separate meeting is a separate issue. The mayor has the authority to call a special meeting, but these items are here on the agenda already, and if a majority of the council wants to, or if they're ready to approve them, they can approve them.
So, okay, I'm going to call for the motion to pull those five items that I mentioned.
If you want to make a motion to pull those and set it for a special meeting, you can make that motion.
Okay,
first.
So we can approve the ones that are not being pulled. And then
I think he wants to make this motion first.
First,
to
and then
see what
after
the
that-
council's wishes are, and then if those are put to a special meeting, then you figure out which ones are left to do on the consent.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to pull for a special meeting 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14.
I'll second that.
Second, we have a second?
2, 3, 12, 13, and 14.
Yes. There's any more approve this item? Yes or no? Councilwoman Maritza?
I know we haven't had special meetings in a while.
We didn't? We did it last week?
No, with regard to finance reports and things like that. So maybe it might be a good time to have an opportunity to review things in detail.
Okay.
That's what you're looking for, right?
Yes. What about Romero and?
I believe there's
appears
a
to be
motion on the floor,
consensus.
there's a second. I think you should take a vote, Mr. Castro.
Well, let's go for the vote. Okay, motion carried to for a special meeting 2, 3, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, now let's go to approve 1, 4, 5.
No, 4 was pulled.
4 was pulled by Romero?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
1,
1,
5, 6,
5, 6, 8, 11,
15, 16.
15, 16, and 18, right?
17 también, ¿no?
No, 17, Romero called for that. Okay, let's go and make a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
We have
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Let's go to vote. All right, we are gonna start with item number 4. Councilman Romero, you call for that item.
No, this is that one.
Sorry?
No, I had pulled this one, which I had already shared with the city manager, that in the future, since the city council is going by the Measure H recommendation, that I would like to see those minutes approving such recommendation with these attachment, but I am fine as far as today is concerned. but I would like to see it in the future, City Manager Rodriguez. And I'll motion for its approval.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, let's call for the vote. Maritza. Okay, motion carried. Now, next item is 7. Moreno, Councilman Moreno, will you please?
Yes, Mr. City Manager, I recall bringing this up before. Is this a reduction in the lease agreement with the city and the senior citizen or senior hall to Catholic Charities?
Is this a reduction? No, last year, I believe, and Sandra, you can correct me, last year was 900. This year is 950. We've spoken to them. They do have it in their budget. They've agreed to it. That's all I can tell you at this point.
Motion for its approval, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have okay, let's call for the vote. Okay. Okay. Item number 7, motion carried. Next item, item number 9, Councilman Moreno.
Yes, one quick question there for our chief. When these out-of-state travels to, in this case, Appleton, Wisconsin, are you provided with a report, and is the report submitted to Mr. Rodriguez or any of the council as to what transpired at the training?
Actually, it's not the training. This is a pre-construction meeting for the design and specifications for the build-out of the 2 fire engines. So I will provide a report if requested to do so. And then on the second one, it's just compliance with the specifications. They've allotted for 3 days. Not sure that it will take that long because at that point, the apparatuses will be near completion and almost ready for delivery. So I can provide status updates and reports as to what was found and what was accomplished out there.
I would appreciate it, just a simple city manager's report to Mr. Rodriguez, so he can provide it to us. I think
Not a problem. And I think that that our department reports to him that we're providing him weekly will definitely serve its purpose in that aspect.
Thank you, sir.
And just for further information, the issue is so that they don't go out and build this rig, and then we find out they didn't build it to specs. So the company normally does this to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Right. And because of the fact that we're not very familiar with what goes on in the department per se.
Okay.
A motion to approve number 9, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, let's call for the vote. Okay, next item,
10.
number 10, Councilman Romero. Moreno, yes, Moreno.
Yes, just one question for Chief Nujar. I think this is an outstanding training. Oh, you're over here. I'm usually over there. And how are the police officers selected to train? Do they have a specialization, or is there a process involved?
Yes, Detective Rodriguez is one of our investigators, and so we have 2 investigators, and what they do is they divide up the work so they can specialize in certain areas. Detective Rodriguez went to the basic course, and now this is the advanced course. And obviously, majority of the instructors are from California, but we can't get the class in California. So this is unfortunately the only place we can. And he's now become a member of this national organization, so that he can be able to sound things off of other professionals in the same category.
And so does he come? Now we had a measure H plan where they would send someone to train the trainers. Is this one of that?
No, this is not. This is actually a specialty that he wouldn't be able to pass on to someone else. He would be using it in the course of his employment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor, item number 10, consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's call for the vote. Motion carried. Okay. Number, let me check.
14.
Oh, well, I have a question, City Attorney. I know we already approved item 11, right? Erika? Yes. Yes, okay. Okay. Can I pull that item, or we need to continue to the next item? I mean,
You can ask a question about it. I mean, if it's already been approved and you want to get clarification,
yes, I want a clarification.
right, you can
Yes.
ask a question about it.
Okay, number 11. So that's been, we already approved, but I can ask questions, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I have a question that
You getting romantic on me, Mr. Hermosillo?
Okay, I have a question on the item 11, Exhibit 16-C.
Say that again, Mr. Mayor.
Exhibit 16-C. It says here, resident and assistant engineering's daily report. You find it? Okay, my question is, do you find it? Do you find it?
I found page 2. Oh, there it is. Page 1 was on it.
Okay.
What was that site again?
Is
Item 11, document 16C.
all right? Okay, my question is, Alex Espinosa, he's a project coordinator and inspector. That's my question. Is he, because he's, I see he's a senator. It says here, project coordinator, inspector, accept all the work done by Clear Solutions, Environeering, INC. Subcontract per bid documents, project improvement plans. Project is ready to file notice of completion. Again, my question is, and I believe, and it is approved and is signed by Alex Espinosa. Is he the project coordinator? My question is again, I know the city engineer left, but Alex Espinosa, is he qualified to sign these documents? That's my concern.
Yes, he's just serving to do the inspections. He's not signing as a city engineer, so he can sign as the inspector.
As an inspector?
Right, it's not required that a licensed city engineer sign off on this.
Mm-hmm. Because it says here, accept all the work done by Clear Solutions, so he's a inspector, not inspector, project coordinator. So that's my concern. So that's okay, city manager?
Yeah, that's okay. He is,
That's okay?
obviously, he's working under the city engineer at that point in time. But it doesn't have to be a city engineer that does the review, that does the inspection. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. It's not mandatory. And obviously, this goes through, and we provide all this backup information. So again, you don't have to have a PE license to be able to do the inspection.
That's concerned me because what about if someone trying to sue the city because he approved this project? That's my concern. Well, I don't have any question. We need to continue, right? With okay, let me check this. Okay, item 17, Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
17. Actually, I pulled this item just for one thing, for one reason. I wanted to thank Supervisor Estrada for continuing to put under the business license number. This is something that has been requested, City Manager Rodriguez, for some time, and I'd really like to see the packets contain this information in future situations when the city is doing business with consultants or anybody else. There's a line for it, and I'm not seeing for it in the other agenda reports. I'll motion for its approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's call for the vote. Motion carried. Okay, next item, business items.
No.
No?
Public hearing.
I'm sorry. Public hearing. Okay. Public hearing to consider. Okay, public hearing to consider approval of the issuance by the California Municipal Finance Authority to assist in the forming of the acquisition, construction, and development of a 54 units multi-family housing residential facility at 223 East 4th Street, known as the Answer 2 Senior Family Apartment, and the adoption of resolution approving the issuance of the bonds.
Mayor, Council Member, this is a project that we've been working on for a while, and as you know, under our housing element, we are short as far as providing housing, affordable housing. This particular project would address that issue on the affordable side and on the senior side. It potentially could even impact the senior disabled population even greater in that we could provide assistance. We don't have the numbers on that yet. We're trying to get some additional financing that would require a specific number, but the project will allow for also assisting senior disabled families. Tonight, we come to you as a requirement of what's called TEFRA, the Tax and Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act. There is a requirement that any time that there is a tax credit deal, whether the city is involved or not, that a governmental body hold a public hearing to allow the public to come in and provide their comments either for or against the project. So tonight, we're facilitating that as a governmental body to provide for the public hearing, for the public to be able to come in and provide their comments. The project consists of a 54-unit multifamily housing residential facility, again, as the mayor stated, to be located at 233 East 4th Street, and this is behind the De Anza. That's why we're referring to it as the De Anza 2. The project itself is estimated to be just shy of $9 million and will encompass different funding sources. some of the major funding sources being home, which is the state monies. There is $3 million that came through the home funding, and then a supplemental that we went back to for an additional $2.1 million. And then there'll be funding from the tax credit equity, from the investors, as well as the bank, Rabobank in this particular case. And hopefully, with a little bit of luck, they're going to be applying for MHA, which is Mortgage Housing Program funding, in order to put this whole package together. Even without the MHP funding, the project is fully funded. So we're hoping to move forward on this as soon as possible, with construction hopefully scheduled sometime at the latter part of this year. With that having been said, we've got the two major players here tonight, and I don't want to belabor it. I just want them to give you a little bit of an idea who the players are on this deal. So I'm going to ask the developer, Timothy Baker, representing Chelsea, to come in and maybe just give us a little more information on the project itself. And then after him, I'll call on Ben Barker, who is representing California Municipal Financing Authority, who would be the issuer on this particular deal.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Tim Baker. I'm with Chelsea Investment Corporation. We're located in Carlsbad, California, and we are part of the ownership team that also owns De Anza 1. As the city manager mentioned, this is De Anza 2, 54 units for senior housing. In addition to the three-story building that will be constructed, it will be adjacent parking structure also right there. And it's going to be on the back side of De Anza 1, which is the north side of that property. Construction will take about 8 months, so we're looking to be completed sometime, approximately 12 months from now, a year from now. We're looking to close on the financing the latter part of this year, with construction underway December, January-ish. The style, the architecture is going to be very comparable to De Anza 1, to the hotel, in terms of the look, the stucco color, the red tile roofs. We're also looking to improve the rear area of De Anza 1. We're looking to make it more of a courtyard setting. There is a little bit of a courtyard there, but it hasn't been really utilized. So we're looking to kind of improve that with kind of spritzers, if you will, the mist system, to be able to use it a little bit more often during the year and kind of make that more of a whole area back there. Because right now it's not really used very much during the year. So it's kind of a whole community feel that we'll be having outside too. The new building itself will have a manager's office. It will have a community room also, complimentary, and it will have elevator service also. The elevator will be able to be used by De Anza 1 residents also. We're very much looking forward to getting this underway. We'll be submitting plans to the city sometime around October 1st, and very excited about this opportunity and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Sure. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Tim Baker.
Mr. Baker, this 54-unit senior family housing, would it consist of 1, 2, 3, 4-bedroom units?
They're all studios. They're going to be 335 square feet. So it's really individuals or couples per se.
Okay, so when I read the word family, I'm thinking...
Yeah, family is kind of a holistic term in our business, where it can encompass a whole family of children and husband and wife all the way down to a single individual.
And I'm thinking family, I'm thinking to create a big impact more than...
No, it will be either a single individual or two, a husband and wife.
And Mr. Baker, now this is going to go where the current parking lot is that correct?
Correct. Okay. So it's going to kind of, the building itself, the new building will kind of create an L-shaped whole building, if you will, where De Anza 1 goes east-west, De Anza 2 will go north-south. Okay. Parking structure will go on the east side of the new building, and then with the community courtyard areas right now, that will remain as is, but we'll improve it a little bit more in terms of landscape and the sprinkler system.
So you say 3 stories, approximately 18 rooms per story?
It will be right on par with De Anza 1 in terms of height and look, though it will be a little, historically we can't copy De Anza 1, but it'll have the similar look.
And historically, my last question would be, the De Anza Hotel is considered a historical building with the state of California. Would this have any detrimental effect if we build upon this site?
None whatsoever.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question that's directed to
Yes.
City Manager. Just for public record, once again, Mr. Rodriguez, as, I'm always concerned about what we do, and it's not an unnecessary burden on the public. So for public record, it states here, the adoption of resolution approving the issuance of bonds. Once again, clearly, the city is not responsible for that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Any more question? Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado?
I have another question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hurtado. You said 25% of this grant will be going into the general fund. Could you expand on that, Mr. Rodriguez? Or who would have that question?
Good evening, Ben Barker with the California Municipal Finance Authority, and thank you for having me, Mayor and council members. 25% of the issuance fee, the CMFA's issuance fee, will be directed back to the city's fund. You can do whatever you want with it. So it's part of our Give Back program where we try to help promote and give back to the communities. We've also reduced Chelsea's fees by 25%.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Maritza?
I was just curious on the second building, then you said it was going to be at the same height as the original.
Give or take. I mean,
And-
it may be a couple feet off here or there, but it's going to be a similar height.
The original building has an elevator already?
Yes.
Yes. Correct, it does.
Okay. Would the hallways be connected up at,
No,
or is
they
it just a
won't. They'll
completely
be
separate
lot-
entrance?
They'll be separate, but the elevator in Dianza 2 will connect to the parking structure. So we want to ensure accessibility to that parking structure, obviously for residents in Dianza 1. So that elevator will be a common use for both buildings. So it'd be a use for the residents to their units as well as a connector to the parking structure. The parking structure is going to be 2 stories.
Sounds nice, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Romero? Mayor Pro Tem Romero?
No.
No? Yes, I have a question. And how many parking space are you gonna use? Because I believe the lot you're talking about is you guys are gonna use the parking lot, right?
Correct.
And how many parking lots spaces? I'm sorry.
Right now, the parking structure right now, as its preliminary design, is 72 units, 72 spaces, I believe.
Right now.
Correct.
And how many you guys are gonna create, or because I believe you're gonna move the parking space, right?
The parking structure itself is, I believe, 72 spaces. The existing parking lot, which is about 30% used, I believe is 58 spaces. I don't know the exact count, I apologize. So that will be taken, obviously will be reviewed by staff in terms of the parking spaces. But the discussion on that basis is the parking area right now is heavily underused. It's probably used at max about 35% in terms of the parking spaces that are there right now, according to the on-site manager. So we're going to be increasing that number, and we think for about, I apologize, the number's 72 right now. So we feel that's probably even over-parked to a certain point in terms of the residents being used there, but that's what we're coming in at right now.
So again, you have right now 72 parking space right now.
No. I believe it's 54.
54.
The parking structure that we are designing, that we'll be submitting to the city on or around October 1st, is planned for, I believe, 72 spaces.
Okay, so you are going to add more parking spaces, right?
Add more parking.
18 space, 18 parking space, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you. I don't have no comments. So we have to move.
Mayor.
I'm sorry. I need to. There's someone in the public in favor of this.
Mayor, before we move on, I did want to introduce California Municipal Finance Authority representative, Ben Barker, because I think it's important to know who the players are on a deal. And they're obviously a very major, important player on the deal. They're going to be the issuer. So, Ben, can you just just tell us who you are and then what your company does, and that way we know who the players are on this deal.
So the CMFA, or California Municipal Finance Authority, is a statewide joint powers authority. We facilitate conduit issuances of all types of tax-exempt financing. We've done 100-plus deals like this one throughout the state of California, and also multiple other 501c type projects throughout the state. As part of the CMFA's policies, we always like to try to give back to the local jurisdictions or municipalities. So we, like I was explaining, always share our fees with the nonprofit we're working with, and then our fees with the local area that we work in.
Okay, thank you. Any question? No more question. Okay, any comments from the public in favor of this project? No comments from the public in favor. Anyone against this project? Not anyone, okay? Okay, so I'm going to call for the vote.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
One thing I need to comment on, the resolution has some incorrect dates in it. It reflects May 17th as the date of the public hearing, and obviously today, August 16th, is the date of the public hearing. So that correction would need to be made to the resolution, as well as the date of July 16th is noted in the resolution as the date the council would approve this.
August
Again,
16th?
it should be August 16th. So I would just like to note those corrections so that if council wants to approve this.
Do I have to rescind my motion and make it with the correct dates?
I would also recommend that you close the public hearing, because if you can make a motion to officially close the public hearing and then make a motion to approve the resolution with the changes I noted.
Mr. Mayor, motion to close the public hearing and to approve the recommendation by staff to approve this item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's call for the vote. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item is business items. Number 20. Discussion action. Consider approving an extension to exclusive negotiating agreement with Imperial Valley Assisted Living related to the property located at 210 Sheridan Street.
Do you have anybody that wants from the public who wants to say something?
On the public hearing?
No,
City Council Shires, okay, Ortega, Estrada, Fuentes, Tirado. We have an oral request from Tony Tirado, regarding item 20.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, staff, my name is Tony Tirado, resident of Calexico. This Imperial Valley Assisted Living Program, as you well know, you have given us extensions before, okay? And we appreciate that. It's a labor that needs to be acknowledged for the simple reason that we need it. There's no other facility, modern facility, that can take care of those that need it, okay, including veterans. Okay? And I appeal to you for an extension. Number one, if you have someone right now that's telling you, we want that location, we're willing to invest to it right now, then we're done. But if that's not the case, I don't think you can lose or we can lose other than the effort. And I commend Mr. Rioseco for his effort. It's not an easy task. But we feel very, very much dedicated to this effort. Because somewhere down the line, I know I'm going to need it. And I don't want to go to El Centro. I don't want to go to Yuma, Arizona. I don't want to go to San Diego. I don't want to go to Indio. Okay? I want to be here. But that's been selfish. But I think a lot of people need something that's updated. It hasn't been an easy effort for us, but we're willing to put that effort, and I hope that you will make that effort to accommodate us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tirado. We have another request from Benny Horton. Will you please come to the podium?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. The reason I'm here to talk about this item that is in front of the council is that how long are we going to have to extend? The reason I say this is that I have a group that's been looking at this property to do a project here, and he's out of Sacramento. And we have been waiting to see if it would become available. And as it stands right now, you keep on extending it. And when I talk to certain members in the staff, they said, we have to wait and see what they're going to do in reference to this program. How long are you going to wait for the program to get funded? Suppose we were waiting and waiting. How long do you extend it? Now, we're ready to present a project that we want to do at the National Guard Armory. But yet we have to wait and see what the council's will is. So how long are we going to extend it, and for how long? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions that you want to have of me?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm interested in what particular type of project this, if you can expand on it.
Okay, well, I'll expand on it. I have a group out of Sacramento, and I think I have talked to many people about it. It's a gentleman by the name of Colonel De La Serna. He has the idea of setting up a military school here in Calexico. And he had looked at the site for the possibility to work with it. But yet, we were waiting to see what the council was going to do in reference to this property. And we were ready to work on it. We got the nonprofit status set up, and we're still waiting.
Any more questions?
Anybody?
No? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
Thank you, Mr. Tirado. No, never mind. Mr. Horton, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you.
Where is he? Oh, there he is. Okay. No?
No question?
I have a question.
Okay.
I just didn't want to confuse it with Mr. Horton being there. Again, Mr. Tirado, thank you for being here, voicing your support for this project of IVEL. Former council member, Mr. Rioseco, you're here, present. I'll have some questions for you. If you could please approach the one of the two mics.
Good evening.
Good evening, former council member Rioseco. For one, I applaud you for your persistence. Now, we've gone through all the presentations before tonight to show some support. As a reminder, the support by the council was extended March of 2009 for two one-year agreements. And if there was sufficient information provided in 2010 that it would be renewed for another year, it was renewed by the then city manager. Council approved it again for another extension for an additional 3 months. And now you're before this council requesting an extension for another 6 months. What can you share in the process that you've been going to get this accomplished, your project accomplished? What can you share with this council, how far you've come along with this, for this council to justify extending it for another 6 months?
Well, we've approached local groups here at the hospital, the neighborhood house, in the beginning, and we decided to go at it ourselves. It hasn't been easy to organize this. We are not developers. We're just local people that have seen a need and have decided to address it. It's been actually more like going on 6 years that we first began this project or this idea. In the beginning, it wasn't the point for us to do it, it was the point for someone else to do it, specifically the hospital. And that didn't work out. They couldn't handle it, or wouldn't handle it. We approached the neighborhood house, and they wanted it, but they couldn't get on it, so we took it on. And again, we're not experienced developers. We don't have the economic means to go about this, but we do have friends of Calexico that have been doing work pro bono on this, and we've accomplished everything except getting the financing, although we do have, and the letter is on file with the manager's office, a finance company, a top-grade national finance company that's willing to go with this project if we get HUD approval. That is a HUD guarantee loan, much like an SBA loan. It would be a for-profit business. We're not. We're a nonprofit, so we're going through them. But it'll be a similar arrangement as an SBA loan with HUD. We need to get to HUD first and be pre-approved before this other finance company will go ahead with their commitment. To approach HUD, we need at least $300,000 that, again, we don't have. It's not easy to put a deal like a $12.5 million project together, but ask us anything you want about the projects, including the cost of the silverware or the beds or anything else, and we do have all that information. We have gotten the endorsements of our elected officials. We have worked with even other groups that might be interested in sharing our project. We are at a standstill and have been at a standstill for about a year and a half. We've gone as far as we can. We're seeking finance. Now, we never approached this council for any financial help. 3 of us sat on this side of the board for years. Frank Montoya, Tony Tirado, and myself have dedicated time on this side, and we know what it is for outside of town developers to approach you and request assistance from you. And it's happened to you, it's happened to us when we were in the council. It was our agreement, our board agreement, not to encumber the city in any way other than ask for your assistance, your cooperation. And again, we're going to buy the property at appraised value. We're going to pay all the permits. We're going to do a lot of work for you. And it is a project that's needed. Tony alluded to that, and everyone I speak with seems to agree that it's a needed project. It's not easy to put it together, however. We actually need more time. 6 months will probably not be enough. We have right now 2 groups that are perhaps interested. We'll be meeting with myself personally with this one group next week, as a matter of fact. The group in Los Angeles is working on another group from San Bernardino that shows interest. And we've gone through several prospective financing groups, but It's not easy when you don't have anything except the only equity we have in this property is your faith, your faith, and the people's need here. That's the only equity we have. Try working that out. Try working a $12.5 million project with that kind of equity. You should actually be backing us even more. But we're not asking for anything except your support. Now, you can be the judge with Mr. Horton's proposal and listen to them. That'd be no problem. Consider which project is better. There are no skilled nursing facilities in the valley. There is no Alzheimer's facility 24/7 in the valley. There is one assisted living facility in Holtville and one in Brawley. We have virtually no competition. And there is a need. I know you council members, at least one of you, has this kind of a problem in your family. I myself have two similar problems in my family, and I don't think I'm the exception, or any one of you are the. This is clearly a need that's needed in this community, and it's up to you folks to back us up. Now, do you have a specific question, Mr. Romero?
Well, I'll ask you this, Mr. Rioseco, and you answered a little while ago. Apparently 6 months is not enough. Then I'm going to ask the question.
It might not be enough.
Well, then you're going to come back in 6 months asking for another extension.
It might be the case.
How many extensions do you believe?
As many as you're willing to give us.
So it could be another 20 years.
I hope not. We've been working at this, Mr. Romero, for no compensation. And none of us will be hired by this project. This is totally a community project. This is a nonprofit. None of us on the board will benefit by, other than perhaps Tony. He says he wants to sign up.
Who?
Tony Tirado. He says he's about ready to check in.
Oh.
Other than that,
no, he won't.
We won't be benefiting by this. The community will. Now, you tell me how many times you're willing to give us the opportunity, weigh our project against another, the merits of our project against another.
Well,
I think you might go along with us.
I'm going to use something you said a little while ago. You used to be sitting in this in the council. How many times would you, as a council member, support an indefinite period of time that somebody would like site control on property owned by the city of Calexico?
Nobody approached my
No. I'm not
councils.
asking you if you were approached. I'm asking you as a former council member.
And I'm answering as a former councilman. No one approached my council.
Mr. Rioseco, if you were sitting in this council, how many extensions would you grant a group similar to yours for this indefinite period of time?
I'm going to try to answer you again. No one, no group, no person approached our council, my 2 terms with a project such as ours. And if someone would have, and we've spoken with you, not too much, you haven't been too receptive. With the other council members, we have spoken at length about the project. But if someone would have approached me as a councilman back when I was sitting on the council, I would have backed this project. I would have backed it as much as I could.
Period of time.
Again, we have been working ourselves, a little bit over 2 years, Mr. Romero. We've offered it to other groups in the community that haven't been able to handle it.
Excuse me.
I was going to say this, that Mr. Rioseco, you mentioned that you have support from the community, probably even elected officials. I would grant you a letter of support for your project, but it doesn't necessarily justify for this council to continue. That it will or not is a different issue, but it doesn't justify to continue to extend site control when there could be other projects. Now, while this was going on with your group having site control, I was approached by 2 different groups asking for it, and I said, sorry, we're tied down with IVAL right now. When it comes for the renewal, it would be a good idea for these members to make a presentation. I did not know that Mr. Horton was going to present something today. Now, to make a determination of what is better for the community of Calexico, either this or the military school, my point would be is who can put it together sooner. They're both good they're both good programs. But who can put it together sooner?
That would be your personal decision.
That is correct.
I'm sure. Yeah. Your personal opinion.
I just wanted clarification. I'm not sure who could. In your discussion, you mentioned that HUD needed to approve and be a player in your project. What's the progress on that, accomplishing HUD's involvement?
We should have no problem with HUD. We have the components in place for an acceptance once we apply, but we don't have the money to apply. What we need to present to HUD is a site control, or that is a property. We have to have a project. We need to have a property. Your site control that you've given us through this exclusive negotiation agreement covers that aspect. Another is a need. We have proven through our own research or studies proved that there is a need and that there is a population that'll justify the project. A third point would be having a finance in place, which we do. There is, and it's on file. This very top grade finance, nationwide finance, has given us a letter of interest. They will fund this project if we get it pre-approved or approved by HUD.
Do you have something similar like that from HUD yet?
No, HUD won't. No, we just know what HUD requires, and those are the 3 basic things HUD's, and we have that covered. The 4th thing would be the money, which we don't.
Come on.
It's as simple as that.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You have not yet submitted any applications towards HUD?
No, we don't have the $300,000 minimum for the initial pre-application. See, and I think I explained that to you, or I might not. I dropped off a package. You were out of town at that time, and I think the package explained that. We have to be pre-approved first by HUD. We have to make this pre-approval application. We need about $300,000 for that. And once we get pre-approved, which HUD should have no reason why not to pre-approve us, because again, we meet these qualifications. They give us 9 months to come back with a lot of other requirements, then it's the final approval. That's when they release or guarantee the funds.
What plans are in place for obtaining the 300,000?
All that's in your package.
I'm sorry,
that
I
I
don't
dropped
have it.
off. What revenues are generated? Now we went to a low range because we want to address the low income population, but we can't refuse anyone. We want to make this an affordable project. Now, if some of you are worried about the cuts that will take place at the federal level, the construction funds are secured. HUD has a revolving fund that does not go through the budget. So I believe they have $1.5 billion, I think, still that's rotating. So construction funds are not a problem. That the federal government might make Medicare cuts or other Social Security or disability now, that will cut into our income. We will have to raise our rates, and unfortunately, if that happens, the lower income clientele or people of Calexico or the Valley might not qualify, might not make it, but the need will always be there. We're all getting older. Ask Tony. We're all getting older, and the need will be there. That is something that won't disappear. We might have to make adjustments with the cuts that they make, which will again only mean that a certain percentage of the lower economic strata will not qualify, perhaps.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can you wait a little bit, Mr. Tirado?
Sure.
Councilman, do you have questions?
Mr. Reseco, yes. We've discussed, and I thoroughly agree with your project and the need, but I do have some concerns that Mr. Romero has taken the lead on. But can we just, are you at liberty to focus at the $300,000, right? This is what you need. How's it going for you?
Well, again, we're meeting with one group this next week here in Calexico, as a matter of fact. The people in Los Angeles are meeting sometime soon with a new group of some.
Are these first two groups, or you've met with several groups in the past?
We've met with several groups, yes. We've met with even certain union groups. We have explored many possibilities. There's not that many people that will go ahead and finance a project such as ours without any
See,
equity.
this may be
we
the
don't
problem,
have any
Mr.
equity.
Reseco. I know that, I commend you. This is sort of the David and the Goliath kind of scenario, but
kind of
what it is, and so what are their responses as to why they won't move forward with you on the $300,000?
Well, ask the hospital. What guarantees do you have? What security do you have? We have none. All we have, again, is the need of the people and your trust.
You have my support on that, but that doesn't win it over. It doesn't win them over, right?
It's not easy. It's not easy. We don't have a big financer ready. Again, we could ask you for that money, but we decided from the beginning not to come to this council with our hand open like other groups. Like other groups have taken money from and, pocket the money and leave town. We're going to make this project here. We're going to stay here. We're born here, some of us. We're going to die here. We're not leaving town. Other groups come and go. They make a buck and they leave. And they say, thank you much, and they're gone. We're not. We're going to be right here.
I respect your persistence, but it's also coming to the reality of, Mr. Reseco, if you keep being turned down over and over and over again, there has to become a point where, and I don't even like to say this because I always believe in hope, but we are in hard economic times, and if we have other potential projects circling around there, but we can't get a go-ahead, there has to be some kind of timeline. It's hard for me to say that because I truly believe in your project.
Mr. Ross, this is a redevelopment project, by the way.
Right.
The property is redevelopment. We would qualify under, we haven't asked that. We haven't gone that route. We could go down that route. You could guarantee this. You could become the guarantor for the $300,000. Once we're pre-approved, that opens up other doors too, by the way, but we have to go through the whole process of being the final approval before this finance company will come in. But Mr. Rodriguez has a letter that they're willing to finance us if we get approved by HUD.
This is very frustrating, but I understand what you're saying.
I think that the issue is that there is quite a bit already at this point of interest in that property. I know that we were talking recreation, and many of the individuals that we've been speaking to along the way about recreation have been interested in that location, especially with that park across the street, and that park could qualify for many different grants because of its location. But because you have site control right now, that's holding us back from many of these other options that have been approaching council. So I just want to make sure I added that part too.
I think this group, Assisted Living in Pearl Valley, has reached a big obstacle, and that is the finance. You said that you could get money from RDA, but you had made it a point to stick with not asking any money from the city. Realistically, Mr. Rioseco?
It is a redevelopment project.
Yeah, but,
It is.
but realistically, let's, this is a great idea. This is a great concept, but realistically, the funding is lacking. And piggybacking on Mr. Romero's comment, give us as much time as we need. I know that we're looking at an Alzheimer's center for patients with dementia and whatnot, and Mr. Horton is looking at the possibility of assisting youth in a military school. Now, we've got to weigh the issues on this one. I'm not sure if 6 months is enough, or a year, or 18 months, or 24 months, but we could be here for a while and may not have this thing come to fruition.
Well, as Mr. Tirado said, give us 6 months. Give us 6 months, and if we don't do it in 6 months, let's call it off.
Is this realistic?
6 months? Could be. Could very well be. We don't have anything in writing from anyone. Give us 6 months. If it doesn't happen in 6 months, we'll walk away. Again, but we can come back to you and you can make the decision at that time. Again, we might be very close who knows, but give us 6 months. If we don't have it, we'll walk away.
I'd like to ask a question. Thank you, Mr. Tirado, for waiting for one more moment. Let's say that we don't, or the council does not renew this, and you seek the funds to get the project started. If you obtain those funds to get the project started, why can you not come to the council and ask for site control?
Well, if we don't have site control, we don't have anything happening with HUD.
Well, you need $300,000 to get started with HUD.
Well, that's to make the presentation.
Of the application.
For the application to be successful, we have to have control of a property.
Okay, then.
So who can we talk to when we tell them, okay, we have this great idea, but we have no property. Now, you've given us that. It hasn't cost you a cent. You've given us the...
It's costing the citizens of Calexico who have projects the opportunity to create something.
Well, you can go on thinking of possibilities. Our thing is not a possibility, it's a doable thing.
It's a doable thing if you have the funds.
And we have it all worked out, except the financing. Except the financing.
Okay, Mr. Tirado, do you have?
You just had a public hearing on 54 units at the Hotel Lienza. Tell me how far back has that been going on until today, finally, okay, which I approve, okay? And the question is, if I was sitting there where you are right now, okay, and this proposal, or any proposal in this environment, okay, then why would I object for an extension? Now you have Mr. Horton coming up with a project. Let him prove himself on that project too, just like we have to, okay? And so long as there's nothing there that you have a commitment, we're making an effort, and this is a need. And we are two prior city councilmen, third out there and everybody else, who we think we get this. We definitely need it, okay? And the only people that we can depend on is you, nobody else. Nobody else. And we are meeting on the 25th with a meeting for some financing. Hopefully it goes through. We don't know. We just keep trying. So all we're asking you is give us that extension. If somebody, Mr. Horton, comes up with a viable project or anybody else, then we can say goodbye. Thank you.
City Attorney, can there be an extension with an escape clause that if somebody does come up during these 6 months and that they have not yet put together sufficient documentation, that the city can dismiss the site control and initiate the process with somebody else?
Sure, you can have, if the city council wants to include a termination provision. Currently, the exclusive negotiating agreement doesn't have a termination provision. It has a set period of time you agree to negotiate with only that company. So if you want to add in a termination provision, you can include that as part of your motion, and I would say just put some particulars to what, is it an automatic termination? Is it a termination? Does it come back to the city council? Can the city manager terminate? How many days notice, those kinds of things. But yes, it can be added.
Okay, thank you. Next request for oral communication is Daniel Chaires.
Good evening, Council, again. And in regards to what's going on here with Mr. Rio Seco and Horton here, I also want to present an idea that we have for this location. And in regards to Mr. Estirado's question to prove it, I can semi-prove this. And I also have 3 organizations that are willing to drop $100,000 for this particular area. Also, we have on this team is Mr. Morris Raisin, who of anybody who should be in charge in recreation should be Morris, because Morris knows the needs of our students.
What's the project?
A rec center for all ages, including senior citizens and youth.
As a private entity?
Yes. And I have a picture here already created digitally. I'm a digital nerd. And this is the picture of what it is right now, or what it looks like right now. So it's all dirt. I wish I could have projectors to project this, but this is what it could be, okay? And it doesn't cost a lot, okay? Got 3 organizations. One is the Boys and Girls Club. The other one is Youth for Christ. And again, it's a religious organization that is just willing to give them money. They're not expecting anything in exchange, but again, why not? And it could be used for both, for senior citizens and for youth. It has an extensive modern gym, indoor gym, and stage built in there where people can rehearse, play, and play basketball. It also consists of a parking lot and 2 swimming pools. I wish I can show all this to all you guys, but this is what you're going to get. And it also consists in 2 swimming pools. One is a 3-feet pool where you can wheel in senior citizens in wheelchairs and do aqua aerobics with them inside the pool. And then it also consists in a program for Alzheimer's disease, the heart and lung disease. And then the other pool is for youth, for kids. It's a 6 feet, and it can go down to a 9-feet pool, and it's designed for kids. All this, again, I would like to have more time to present this and show you in more detail of what all this rec center can be. If I can ask for you to present this from the next council meeting.
Thank you.
We would have no objections, the council entertaining other groups that might have ideas that would be worthwhile looking into. While we have these 6 months of site control, but keep one thing in mind, that's a very, I guess, good project. They have 2 swimming pools and what have you. Think of maintenance costs. Think of what it'll cost to maintain these.
He said it was a private enterprise, so that's his their responsibility.
And the religious organization will volunteer people to clean up and repair any additions to the main.
Boys and Girls Clubs are usually 4,000 to 5,000 square feet building. Usually, that'll take up maybe maybe $1,500 a month, just air conditioning. Think of the costs involved in your community center. Our project is self-sustaining, and if you look at the numbers, we project profits. They're not called profits, they're called excess funds. Our project will be self-sufficient. We won't be coming back to you, we need this, we need that. We will be self-sustaining. We won't be depending on the goodwill of the community, fundraising, and so on. We will be, and look at the numbers that you have in the packages that we have given you.
Thank you, Mr. Rio Seco. I believe, Mr. Horton, the last
one thing I want to say is that Mr. Rio Seco, Mr. Tirado, I have the greatest deal of respect for them and their capability, and I do not come up here to challenge them or to do anything to that effect. But one thing that I really care about is our children. And with this particular program, I'm willing to bring the people that I'm working with on this project to make a presentation, and not to say that, not to give it to Mr. Rioseco for the extension or Mr. Tirado or anything like that. I'm willing to bring my people down to give a, let's say, a presentation to what we can do. Mr. Chavez has his project, Mr. Rioseco and Mr. Tirado has their project. I'd like to make possibility to say what the benefits of this project is going to be to the community. And there again, we have the money that we can work with. It'll be self-sufficient. And the one thing it's going to do is help our children. And it'll be something that we can all be proud of. And the money is there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we can go from there. But yet, in reference to the extension, maybe I was a little too strong in my wording. We all deserve to have a chance to work on our projects. And I'm trying to say that in reference to the two gentlemen, these are people that have served the community, and they continue to serve the community, where others stand back and do nothing. They're doing something, and I say that's to commend them for what they're doing. And so with the council, I would like to have the opportunity, even if you extend the extension, have the opportunity to bring the people down, to work with you, to show you what we can do, and show what the cost would be if there's no cost to the city, and how we can work this into something that the city can be proud of. Thank
I
you.
call for the question, Mr. Mayor. I like Mr. Romero's idea with regard to an extension with an escape clause. And I think it would be prudent to have Mr. Horton and Mr. Chaidez to, in the meantime, set up a presentation at one of our city council meetings for their particular idea. Can I get a second?
Second. Second.
I just want one more question. Would you like that presentation to be just a boring PowerPoint or a 3D dimensional? Okay.
Everything.
And when you do make your, Mr. Horton, Mr. Chaidez, when you do make your presentations, not just the visual, but more information, concrete information.
Financials.
On how feasible it actually will be.
Feasibility will be there. Right. And meantime, Mr. Rioseco, I guess it could, well, you have some time.
Okay.
I would need some direction on what the escape clause, if you're going to have a motion that's going to include escape clause, how do you want staff to draft that in the amendment?
Well, it would have to be at least 30 days. And a determination, if there's a project that comes along.
That's funded?
That's funded.
At no cost to the city?
As they say, to be shovel-ready kind of thing?
Shovel-ready.
Now, the question would be, does it come back to council? I guess it would have to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and as the way the motion was made, that the city wants to receive these presentations from other entities, currently the way the exclusive negotiating agreement is, you wouldn't be able to do that. So obviously, we'd be modifying the language to say the city council can have presentations from other entities.
Correct.
And right now, it says you shall not negotiate or solicit or entertain bids or proposals from other entities. So you want to change that language to say you can at least receive presentations.
Right.
Do you want to be allowed to I mean, the whole point of an exclusive negotiating agreement is you're not going to negotiate, but at least you want to be able to hear these other presentations.
That is correct.
Yes.
Do you finish, City Attorney?
And then it's going to be a 6 months. And I just want to clarify, because I see I think the original negotiating agreement says that this is between the RDA and IVAL. And just to clarify, this is a city property, so it's city and IVAL. So I'll also make that modification in the amendment.
So this is not on redevelopment property?
I'm not informed that it's redevelopment property.
It is redevelopment
It is
property.
redevelopment property.
Yes, it is.
Oh, we can't do this.
Well, we can't. Yeah, I think that poses the issue, the whole issue with redevelopment agencies, that
It's already on freeze anyway, right?
Right.
yeah, at this point, under RDAs, we cannot move forward with any type of new deal actually doing the deal until Supreme Court rules on this. So we're not going to be able to do anything anyway, at best, until the Supreme Court rules on the RDA issue. And can we even extend?
I wouldn't recommend it. Based on the Supreme Court stay that was issued last week, I don't believe you can right now. I can go back and analyze the stay in more detail. I think this was written as a city council agenda item, and so that's why I didn't review that issue before the council meeting.
That being the case, then we cannot really have a vote on this issue.
Right. I would say right now you should put it on hold.
It's moot.
If I believe that the stay would allow this action to be taken by the redevelopment agency, then we can put it back on the agenda, but otherwise you're under the stay, which the effect of the stay issued by the Supreme Court last week was that provisions of AB 26, which is the new law that was passed June 29th, that said redevelopment agencies, as they exist right now, can no longer take any new actions. All you can do is continue to carry out existing obligations. You can't amend agreements. You can't transfer property. All of that is currently in place against redevelopment agencies based on the Supreme Court ruling last Thursday. They plan to issue a final decision. Their estimated date is January 2012, but we don't know if that's, we don't know if it's going to be sooner. We don't know if it's later. That's just what they put in the stay last week. So I think based on that, this is an amendment to an agreement, and I don't believe you can do that right now.
Okay. So technically speaking, we have to let it expire.
It's already expired, I believe, by the terms of it.
So we cannot take action on this.
I would say not tonight.
So it shouldn't have been placed on the agenda.
Well, again, the stay was just issued Thursday, late on Thursday afternoon. This was written up, and I believed it was a city council item. So that, like I said, that issue wasn't analyzed to try to figure out, can this ENA be extended out of the court late on Thursday afternoon?
Keep in mind, gentlemen, that this is not, or also you, Ms. Jennifer, that this is not something that the redevelopment will spend any monies on.
But it's a property of redevelopment. We can't decide.
I understand that, but keep in mind that it's not something that you will be spending any monies on. I think that's what this whole thing is about. The state wants to take your money away. But
it's also the property.
Yeah, this is nothing that you will be giving us anything. We will be giving you monies. That's the other way around. They want to stop you from spending monies. You won't be spending any monies with us. We will be giving the city redevelopment agency full value for the property and for all the permits. You won't be giving us anything. I think that should put a different light.
So the direction, we can vote on this item, right, City Attorney, right?
I don't recommend voting tonight, and if I review the language of the stay and this item and believe it's advisable, then we will put it back on the agenda. But tonight I would not, I don't feel comfortable giving a legal opinion on that.
I will also contact, we do have some attorneys, some very high caliber attorneys in San Francisco that handle these kinds of issues, and I will try to get together with Mr. Rodriguez. It's awful hard to get together with Rodriguez, but to see how this will work out, and I will ask for their opinion and give it to you folks. This is attorneys that are willing to do this work pro bono for us.
Okay.
And whatever question comes up, I will take it to them, inclusive your agreement that you give us. We will run by them. If it's not worth the paper it's written on, we'll thank you for it and be done with it.
Thank you, Mr. Rizago. I have a question. And what is your recommendation, City Manager? What is your recommendation?
Well, at this point, given legal opinion, we can't move forward with it. It's more of a legal opinion versus a policy decision. So I have to agree with legal that at this point, we can't provide for any agreements. Certainly we'll look at it, and if it's possible that we're misinterpreting this, we'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Will you authorize me speaking with Mr. Rodriguez on that so I can present it to this council? whatever we come up with, we'll run it by them and give you, the council, and Mr. Rodriguez, this attorney's opinion.
Yes, of course. Right?
So I understand the matter is mute?
The matter is mute.
Moot. We're going to table it.
So I believe we need to table this item.
Or not take action.
Not take action because the RDA issue in, so the next, I'm sorry?
Mr. Mayor, if I can inquire, seeing that you're going to be tabling this, can we still go ahead and put, Mr. Chavez and I put our presentations together,
Yes.
together to give to the...
Definitely, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so next, no action on item 20.
Let me just, for the record, rescind my motion.
Okay, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In a second.
There was a motion?
I had motion, but we can't take action, so I rescinded.
I'll get to go to Oscar to see what, what all this meant. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
No, I'm for the next item.
Oh, okay. I thought you have something.
After that, marijuana sounds easy. So
Okay,
You're going to make us dizzy going.
next item, item number 21, consideration of medical marijuana regulations. Do you have any comments on this, Chief New Year?
I'm just going to make the opening presentation for you on the discussion. As you may remember, in May of 2010, the City Council approved an interim moratorium ordinance, and that ordinance basically stopped anybody from being able to come into the city and put in a medical marijuana dispensary during a time which we were able to investigate or research and find out which way we wanted to go. You currently have a moratorium in place until May of 2012. But Council has asked that we bring this back and have a discussion on it. As you're aware, recently the City of El Centro decided to authorize and regulate medical marijuana dispensaries, and at this time they do have 2 that have been authorized in their city. Just a little bit of background: in 1996, voters passed Proposition 215, which was called the Compassionate Use Act, which allowed people with doctors' recommendations to possess and cultivate medical marijuana for the personal use as a primary caregiver with doctor's recommendation. Later, under Senate Bill 420, they changed the program. It's called the Medical Marijuana Program Act, which also added some other benefits to it. Understanding that medical marijuana still is, under federal law, illegal, and federal law does not allow for medical purposes or any other uses of marijuana. Under federal law, it has no use whatsoever. Tonight, you're being presented with 3 options. Option number 1 would be to approve and regulate dispensaries in the city. Option number 2 would be to prohibit facilities, which would be considered basically an outright ban. Option number 3 would be to allow the moratorium to expire and allow our existing zoning ordinance to take over. As many times has been said in the past, our zoning ordinance is basically what allows things to be set up, different type of business in the city. If it's not in our zoning ordinance, then basically we can't or not allowed to have it. So unless we would do a zoning change, we could allow our zoning ordinance to take over, and that would basically say we couldn't have a marijuana dispensary because it's not authorized under our current code. Of course, each of those options come with their own potential for litigation. Options number 1, obviously a violation of federal law. Since 2009, the federal government has been very lenient on medical marijuana dispensaries. But since that time, they've beginning to make increased notice of some of the dispensaries as they become larger. They begin to take in a lot more customers that probably shouldn't be customers. And then in the same respect, cities who who believe that they're some type of a cash cow and put or impose too much taxing on those, and they become cities basically are gaining some kind of revenues off of what's considered under federal law to be illegal act. So, and then of course, even if you approve it, it's going to be approved under strict regulation. And if you have a permittee that's allowed to come in, even that permittee may say, well, the restrictions are too restrictive, and you may end up with a lawsuit that way. Under option number 2, where you have a complete ban, there's already been a number of cities that have been in the lawsuit process because of having bans. So it's one of those things where it's kind of whether you do it or you don't, you're still gonna have that litigation hanging over your head. And of course, 3, the same thing, the zoning ordinance. Now, courts have upheld in most cases, or actually all cases, that when a city has a zoning ordinance, you're not required to change it. You can use that as your defense, the fact that it's not authorized in your city, and basically you don't have to make that zoning change. So it all depends on whether we want to have it and regulate it, whether we want to outright ban it, or option number 3 is basically the same thing, except basically not take any action, let the moratorium expire, and not change our laws at all, which ultimately is still a ban, but it seems to be the cleaner way. So tonight, staff requests that the council hold a discussion on the issue and provide direction to staff about how the council wants to proceed. Understanding that if either option 1 or 2 are chosen, and that is restricted approval or a prohibition, that it's still going to have to go to the Planning Commission, and at the Planning Commission be discussed, and ultimately the Planning Commission's recommendations coming back to council. I want to encourage discussion, but I do want to, depending on which way the council leads, I would like to reserve the right to comment and make recommendations, both operationally and with public safety concerns. So at that point, it's up to you.
Thank you, Chief. Any question from the council? No? Okay. Okay. I have another request for Carlos Contreras. Will you please come to the podium?
Carlos Contreras, I lived at 2149 Les Dow Court here in Calexico, and just as a citizen of Calexico speaking, because I'm working with somebody that is looking to do a dispensary in the area of El Centro, and I've been working with several other dispensaries throughout the state of California. One of the things that we want to take into consideration is that the law is going to change in approximately about 3 weeks in the state of California. The current regulations are about 11 to 14 pages. It's going to be jumping up to about 23 to 25 pages, where the state is going to allow a little bit more regulation. Individuals that have a medical card right now are being registered only at their own will. So only about 8% of the individuals that are authorized to have to use medical cards are obtaining that from the health department. Okay, that allows them to have in their own home a certain number of plants, which is 6 plants, and they give you a certain height and all that stuff. So within this city, you have, I believe, 116 medical cards that are already provided to individuals who are allowed to have approximately 8 ounces of marijuana for their possession and use, personal use on any time. So one of the things that you may want to do is, as you're looking at this, is you want to make sure that if you're going to put a ban, that you do put a ban on it, that you make sure that you're not going to get somebody coming in and challenging you by not having that, if that's going to be your choice. And if you are going to do the allowing the dispensaries to be located in here, that you look at the locations that you would allow it, like the El Centro did. I think El Centro right now is currently looking at even redoing some of the areas, because if there's a lot of traffic for kids to go by, if there's churches or other areas, you don't want necessarily the dispensary to be there. And then you also don't want the public to think that the dispensaries are being created for individuals that have drug addiction, similar to what methadone and methadone's clinics do, okay? A large portion of the individuals registered here in Calexico are individuals with HIV, individuals with cancer, individuals with heavy pains in arthritis or other things, okay? The individuals that are taking the consideration of getting registered through the state health department and getting the medical card, I would say probably about 90% have a valid card for their personal use. And if you look at cities like Venice, if you look at cities like Fresno and areas that haven't put a specific ban, they get from the other cities, the individuals coming in and trying to set shop. So if you are going to ban it, I would say just come on out and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and ban this. Right now, your moratorium allows you to do that, but what you want to do is make sure that you say, we're not going to allow it and don't allow it if you're not. And if you are, that you do put a number of clinics that are allowed. Currently, under new California, under the new changes in California, this has to be completely nonprofit. Okay, they have to report the amounts of money that comes in. There is a limit right now. It's $250,000 per officer that they could take home in salaries. That's going to go down to about $80,000 per officer. Only so many officers are allowed to be in there, and it's got to be run through either a co-op or a semi-organization that has a mutual benefit for it. So when you are taking a look at all those things, make sure that you are regulating it. And I'm with some of the explanations that the chief was giving is, you know, make sure that you regulate it and set a policy. We're saying if you're not going to allow it, don't allow it. But don't wait for them to start coming this way. Because if one of the things with the law is the federal law, I believe District 9 Appeals Court or something like that, has ruled that the state could regulate medical marijuana or any type 1 of drugs for medical use, and it's up to the state. Once you get up to a certain number, you know, then the feds have the authority to raid or do other things. But you know, I mean, I've seen a lot of cases where individuals are giving back their medical marijuana, you know, and then you do have to regulate how much. If you only got enough clients where you have a 1/4 pound, you know, for the clients for that week, you can't have 5 or 6 kilos of marijuana in there, you know, and the marijuana has to be identified. It has to be, you know, it has to have a certain purposes. And each one of the plants is destined to cure different things because of the different levels of the chemicals that are composed of it. So those are some of the things that I would ask that if you're going to do that, to make sure that you do set up something, you know, where it's positive for everybody. Okay, thank you.
Actually, very, very well said. I actually have all those items as recommendations in the event that the policy decision's made, but it was great explanation that he gave to you. He actually, all of that is accurate.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions. You mentioned something, Chief, about bringing this to Planning Commission because it deals with zoning and land use.
Correct.
Has the Planning Commission discussed this item?
They won't until you make a policy decision that that's the direction that you want to go. As it is right now, we have a moratorium. So we have nothing. As if we choose to go in a direction towards legalization and or not allowing it, then the Planning Commission will get involved.
Okay, so I think it'd be prudent on our part to let the Planning Commission look at land use.
Well, you still have to have a policy decision. So either you have to say we don't want it as a council, we don't want it, or we do.
So we have to start with the decision of we don't want it or we want to regulate it.
Correct.
And then it would go to them.
Correct. And that goes into the land use of where it would be authorized within the city, what land uses will allow for having dispensaries and those kind of things. So unfortunately, you can't dodge the bullet.
Right. And would it be wise to have a public hearing with this item so that we can get more input from the community? Right now, there's no action, it's just consideration. So I'm assuming that no action may be taken.
What we could do, and just a suggestion to you, is that obviously we can run it through the system both ways. We can run it, because that's what I saw that Palm Springs has done. And actually, we've now kind of being late in the ballgame on this when we discussed this earlier, that we've had a chance to watch some of the other cities have done and see the mistakes that they've made and not make those same mistakes. And one of the things that I saw that the city of Palm Springs had done before they actually did approve it is they actually have proposed ordinances going both ways. They had a total ban, as well as what areas they would allow and what they would allow and with what restrictions, and ultimately came to after it went through the Planning Commission, got some recommendations, some changes, and then ultimately when it came back to council, it came back to council as either way. So you can either, at that point, either a ban or approve the ordinance. So there's an ordinance to ban or an ordinance to approve.
To regulate use.
To regulate.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I like Councilman Moreno's comment about we should have some public input. For me, I just feel like, I know or I have at least heard strong arguments in the moral and religious vein, and I respect that. Also the economic arguments for and against it. But I'm not a doctor, and I don't think anybody else is here, so if we do have a public forum, I would like to have some medical experts here come here and present and convince us or otherwise that there is really medical benefits to the consumption of marijuana for medical treatment. As far as I know, did I miss something? I have not gotten anything in writing, or I don't recall anything orally, so that's my suggestion.
Could you also remind us, what did the other cities in Imperial County did?
Absolutely. At the present time, the city of El Centro has a restricted approval, and they have a set limit of 2 dispensaries. Now that obviously they can come back to the council and probably change that, but when they approved the ordinance, they specifically approved for 2 dispensaries. The cities of Brawley, Imperial, and Hopeville have each banned it. And then we're the only ones that currently just have a moratorium.
No, excuse me, did you finish? Yes. Do you know how many medicals marijuana cards has El Centro?
I do not.
No?
In fact, I was impressed in the fact that he knew there was 116.
Did you know about, you mentioned 116 here in Calexico, right?
Yeah, there's a total of 412 that have been issued within the county.
In the county.
Within the county, there's over 100 here in Calexico. Those are the individuals that choose to register themselves. Okay, so when you take a look at just the individuals that are choosing to register themselves, you still have individuals that have the right under California to grow the plants at home and use them. Okay, so even if you ban it, you still cannot prevent them from growing at home.
Right.
So those are what the dispensaries allow the individual to do is not to grow it at home where they may have neighbors or others that may be affected by the odor. There is a lot of medical studies that have been done on it. And I think rightfully so, you should have the public hearings and hear the for or against. While I work with these individuals, I'm not either way, but I just ask you that you do what either Brawley or Hopeville or they did, is they protected themselves by saying no, so that way you don't get the individuals coming from the other cities into the areas where they may feel that there's a safe haven. Okay.
And we do have that problem now, as we have a delivery service. And so we've had to work a couple of cases because they come from actually illegal distributors and actually deliver door to door with medical marijuana. Some people have prescriptions, and some people don't.
Or the Girl Scouts?
Yeah.
Remember that the other challenge that you have is that there's cities that charge a substantial number of fees for people to be able to establish. So if you're going to set up a restrictive fee where you know you're going to get some type of regulation that you could pay an officer to regulate the area where the distribution could happen. One, and then El Centro's fee is really less than $4,000 or so, which is real low compared to the rest of the state. It really doesn't cover any type of enforcement that they would be doing in the future, but it's also limited to 3 years, with a review after 1 year. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make sure that if you're doing it, that you do it appropriately. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. One more oral communication. Angie Campuzano? Okay.
Hi, good evening. I'm actually from Yuma, Arizona, and I was called last minute that you were going to hold up a meeting in regards to the marijuana issue. And I'm going to talk on behalf of a patient that he is only 38 years old, and he goes to dialysis 3 times a week. Before we were able to get marijuana to him, we were actually doing it illegally because we couldn't find someone to get it from. Which, with that said, take in consideration that if there's a place where people can actually go and benefit from it, it will really save a lot of us good people, good abiding citizens, because we are. But when it comes to when you're pushed to that, I know Arizona has been passing this, and we've been trying to work with other people to actually hear, voice the opinion, what is good for us. I mean, it's important, the areas, of course, we don't want our schools by there, our churches by there, because our children are there. But when it comes to medical, it is a huge, it's what the difference is. Yes, sir.
You mentioned dialysis. How does it assist in his dialysis?
The pain, dialysis, it comes from the blood. Well, you start.
The kidneys, right? It's filtering the blood.
Yeah, it balances the body, the sight. You start losing sight, of course, with diabetes. So with that, the pressure of the glaucoma in the eyes, it releases it. I mean, you're not going to become a pothead, but you will use it occasionally as you start. And from that, we just experienced that with a cousin of mine that was a very prominent farmer. I mean, who would ever think that he would end up the way he is now, that can't get up because his body aches. So with that, I just want to share with you, I mean, you've got here a place where you can actually help people go and get what they need in a place that I would be embarrassed to go, get a bag somewhere else. I'd rather go to a place where I can sit and use it. I mean, and I'm sorry, I'm not dressed to impress today, but when I am an inspector in housing right now, I mean, I drove here and I came in late just to be able to be part of this and share and voice our opinion of the public that I don't see anybody else here that can benefit. I mean, it's just a fraction of a price to keep your family for a while. When you have cancer, if you got 20 days left, this stuff will actually help. Trust me, I've seen it. I've lived it, like this gentleman here going to California. I'm going to that Tucaluca place, I don't know what the name, I can't even pronounce it, where they're huge growers up in Northern California. He probably knows where I'm talking about. I've actually made contact, and they've heard my voice, that they're gonna allow and invite me to go to see these farms where usually no one wants to go. And all because why? We're voicing our opinion for a lot of people in our area that we're afraid to talk. We're afraid. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you're going to go visit a farm. Why would it be? I have 2 questions, but why would you be interested in visiting the farm?
The farm where it's being grown, because you're going to get quality. They're the ones that are actually brokering.
But they're going to sell it to a local, okay, or the product, the marijuana, will be given to a local dispensary.
Yes, sir.
So how do you know that what is being grown is going to be showing out there?
That's what I want to know. That's what, if I'm going to be part of this,
The second question is, as you know, the city of El Centro has already approved 2 facilities.
right.
What's the difference of going to El Centro or coming to Calexico?
Sometimes you don't want to go to that. If you're in your town, you don't want to go. Like us, we wouldn't want to go to Winter Haven. If Yuma approved it in our town, we wouldn't want to cross that bridge to go get something like that.
But you're from Yuma.
Yes,
The
sir.
facility is in El Centro. You're not going to your own town.
No, we have to. Now, right now, we're working on the process of actually moving our patient to San Diego.
Okay, but you have a facility, there's going to be a facility in El Centro.
Right. He
Why
doesn't
do we
want
need-
Calexico. He doesn't want, because here I go back to how they feel, how they're being, the status part. Do you see what I'm saying? Their ego, they're embarrassed, so forth.
They're ashamed.
Yes. So when you have something in your hometown, I just say, you know what? The community has to work together. There's a lot of legal side of it. There's a lot of things you have to look at. But I think as a community, it is a beneficial thing. That's all I have to share with you tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I just make one clarification related to some of the comments? The comment related to banning, I know we're using that word kind of loosely, banning. What if the council went in that direction, you would just be prohibiting dispensaries.
Right.
You're not changing what existing law says, which a qualified patient and their primary caregiver are allowed to possess, use, cultivate a certain amount of medical marijuana. That would not be affected, so I just want to clarify that. Those still exist. Primary caregivers can get marijuana and give them to the patients in Calexico under current law. As long as they're following current law, you would not be touching that with your ordinance. You would just be saying dispensaries, which are storefront locations where people cooperate, come together to cultivate, grow, distribute marijuana, those would be prohibited. That's the only thing that the ordinance would address.
And that is probably something I should clarify also as we're talking about this, because in as we think of a store or we think of a storefront, it doesn't work that way. These are cooperatives, and they basically, if you have a marijuana card, you can elect to become part of a specific cooperative. And so that allows that person who runs that cooperative to have a certain amount of product on hand as a result of you being part. So the more people that they have, obviously, then the more marijuana they're going to have in order to be able to dispense. But if you have more, just exactly what the gentleman was saying, if you have more marijuana than what you have in clients, then that would be a violation. If you have more plants and you're growing more plants than what you have in people who are signed up with your co-op, then that would be a violation. So there's a number of legal issues, a number of monitoring issues that would go on with these co-ops.
There's.
But I would be happy to, if you wanted to advertise it for a. Believe me, I want to get this thing, some kind of final resolution to this thing, rather than just keep continuing on. And I realize it's a policy decision, so I'm not going to fight it either way. But I would think that I think that's Mr. Hodge has a great idea. In the fact, we should probably try to get as much public input. I mean, you had some at this meeting. We had some public input at the last meeting when we did vote when you voted to continue the moratorium. And so, if you wanted to, we could advertise and we could show good, bad, ugly, and then you'd have some more input.
I think we should continue with the moratorium and then have these public sessions in the interim that we're talking about. And if something services between now and May 2012. Yeah, one of the things that was mentioned that got my attention is the comment that the regulations have changed.
They're in the process of being changed.
Well, they're going to change after they get changed. And
well, no, the recommendations that staff has are compliant with the new law.
Yeah.
This is an evolving area of the law. I mean, the cases come out almost every day on this issue. So even if council approved an ordinance, we can't tell you that, a week later, the law might change, and we would have to come back to you to amend it. That's just the unfortunate situation that cities are in right now because of this conflict between state and federal law. So I think staff will continue to monitor this. I know that I'm continuously monitoring this issue, and so, yeah, we can't guarantee that once you approve an ordinance, the law won't change. We may have to come back and do revisions.
Well, I agree with Councilman Romero. I think that's a good direction to take. Right now, this is a whirlwind for me. I'm getting all confused. It's a lot. I believe we need more information. We have a fine backup here, but it's like we're bouncing back and forth. I'm old school. If I could have something in writing, a little packet, I could consume it at my own pace, reflect, think about it. So I think we need more time. We need more information, and Councilman Moreno's, he took the lead on a public input. I think these factors all have to come into play.
And thank you, Mr. Hodge. And to piggyback on Mr. Hodge, I'd like to see statistics as to whether or not crime rates have risen in areas where perhaps dispensaries are located, and if so, how would that affect or impact our community?
Yeah, medical and empirical evidence and arguments for and against.
Well, all I am is the presenter, so I don't have those things for you. If, like say, if we want to set it up and we wanted to have people bringing in pro and con points, we could obviously set that up.
It's difficult to even, from this chair, to even consider regulating dispensaries. I would go with option number 2, but leave the window open for 3 and see what can be put together.
Well, you know what, I have to, if I'm allowed to make any kind of a recommendation, option number 3 is not a bad one. Option number, because right now there is nobody beating on your door saying, hey, we want to open up a dispensary. It would be a different story if you had business people like that we just went through that have these competing ideas that wanted to come to council and say, hey, I would like to do this. And so option number 3 is not a bad one in the fact of just let the moratorium go, and then once somebody comes to you with a business plan and said this is what we're going to do, then compare it to what the standard is out there and whether you want to get into that or not. So as long as nobody's beating down your door saying, hey, we want to do this, that's the option number 3 is not a bad one either.
Will you be
what's the other recommendation?
Well, I'm not.
Just real quick, one of the things is that having the dispensary allows you to have a tax. Okay, because on it you're collecting a tax, both at the state and the local level. Without it, individuals that grow it at home and stuff do not have to pay anything. Once you do participate in the cooperative, the reimbursement to the cooperative is because you have to grow it, and anything you buy, you pay a tax. That's why they use the storefronts. Because
but I don't believe that the tax impact is going to be that considerable.
It actually, it's very large. It's a large amount of tax, but I think it's something that could be brought back again. That's the only opportunity that you're missing. But there's a lot of other positive or negative things that could be presented to you.
Well, this is under consideration. It's not up for a decision, right? It's more like direction.
We just need direction only because if a new ordinance is ultimately suggested by the council and you want to get that in place before the moratorium expires, obviously we need some lead time because it not only has to come to the city council for 2 readings, it have to go to planning commission. But if council is not, it's up to you. If you want to tell us to come back with a public hearing in a few months. We're just wondering what you want us to do about it.
If I may,
and what work to be done.
Mayor, if it's at all possible, I would motion to prohibit the facility.
And I would second.
But meantime, carry its moratorium to bring back language on prohibiting the facility. Let the moratorium continue until that language is put together. And if there's opportunity for these public sessions, then let's have them.
So we have a motion.
Is that a motion or direction?
Yes, that's
It's a
my
motion?
motion. That's my motion as a direction,
I
or a
second that.
direction as a motion.
Well, I'll second that.
I already did.
Or
Okay.
did you want to second it?
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's call for the vote. Okay, motion pass.
So, as a summary, Mr. Romero, we're continuing the moratorium,
Until they put,
but we're opening it up for public input.
meantime, they're going to put the language together for prohibiting the facility.
Okay.
So we would bring back an ordinance that said prohibit dispensaries, and at the time that council would consider that, you would hold a public hearing, a notice public hearing on that decision.
Yes.
And then if councils wanted to go forward with it, then we would send it back through planning commission, through their hearings, and then ultimately back to city council. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, motion carry. 3 in favors, 2 against. Next item, item number 22, appointment to the Street Naming Commission by Councilman Hodge.
Yes, it is with pleasure. I would like to make the appointment to the Street Naming Commission to Maria Navarro, who is a lovely lady in the back.
Maria who? Oh, all right.
Maria Navarro.
Okay. All right. Next item, number 23, appointment to the Calexico Housing Authority Board. What's the backup on that? City manager?
Well, you have 2 that have applied and were cleared, Emma Silva and Mr. Palomino.
I believe Mr. Palomino, right? And Emma?
Emma Silva.
Emma
She's
Silva,
also
right?
a resident.
So,
Palomino's an incumbent. Palomino's an incumbent.
Palomino's the incumbent.
Mr. Palomino is currently an incumbent, and if I remember correctly, Mrs. Emma Silva has served on the board before.
That Emma has served on the board before.
What now?
Mr. Palomino is an incumbent, and the lady Emma has served on the board before.
Well, has also?
Has also served on the board.
Well,
I'm not familiar with either person. so-
I'm familiar with the strong community involvement of Elma Silva. I'm not with the other gentleman. And I've been at meetings with her, and she's very proactive and articulate. So I'd like to make the appointment for her to be on the Housing Authority Board.
Housing Authority.
This is Alpha's mom?
Yes.
I'll agree with Mr. Hodge.
So that's a second.
So, Mr. Hodge, you make a motion to support, to appoint Emma,
Yes, I'll
right?
make a
Emma
motion
Silva, and
to-
second, Mr.
Yes.
Moreno.
Yes, sir.
All right, motion, let's call for the vote. We have us. Right, motion carry. Item number 24, removal of Recreation Commissioner by Councilman Hodge.
Yes, I regret, but it's needed to, I want to make the motion to remove Javier Magallanes from the Park and Recreation Commission.
Okay.
Did I get it right?
It's just it doesn't need to be approved by the city council.
I'm sorry.
Your own motion can
Yeah. All right, very good.
make it happen per our ordinance.
Make it happen.
And then the city clerk will advertise the vacancy, and you can appoint after the advertising's occurred.
Jennifer, I believe any commissioner from the council, not from the council, from the community, they need to write a letter?
No. It's an
No?
application.
I believe there's an application for commissioners or potential commissioners to
No,
fill out.
but my question is, if they want to resign from any commission, No?
If people want to voluntarily resign, they can write letters.
But-
This is another method if they don't voluntarily resign and a council member feels that they should be removed for any reason, the council member can do that.
Well,
excuse me, I mean, go ahead.
the reason is that there is in place rules within each commission, and I'm assuming this is the same, right? Senator Tyler applies to all the others, like Arts Commission, and we've determined, in order to move forward and contribute, you have to be at the commissions. And so this young gentleman, who I thought had a lot of potential, but he's moved on for other issues, he's missed more than 3 in a row. Is that correct, Sandra? So that holds up the commissions from being viable and productive. So we need to replace and move on so we can get good things completed here.
Okay. Okay, next item, appointment of planning commissioner by Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
I think Mike Davis is available.
On another one. Mr. Hargrave was in the Planning Commission, and he had to resign back in February or March. And since then, discussion I've already had with Ernie Medina, so I'm appointing Ernie Medina to the commission. And there's already an application and file with the clerk's office.
All right. Okay, next item, redevelopment agency. Consent item. Item number 26.
Motion to approve.
Acknowledge receipt.
Both. No, it's under consent.
It's under.
It's not our information.
It's a consent
Second,
item.
Mr. Romero.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Let's call for the vote. Motion carried. All right. For the future agenda items, Mr. Hush, Bill Hush, Councilman
Yes.
Bill Hush.
I will preference it by saying I have 3.
Is that all?
Well, maybe
In
only
25
2.
parts.
So the first one, it's directed to Mr. City Manager and also Chief Nujar. So I have a question, Chief Nujar. Do we still at this time have one certified dispatcher?
One certified dispatcher.
Dispatcher.
How many dispatchers?
911 calls. Dispatcher. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
How many
But we have,
How many dispatchers do we
we have
have?
9.
We have 9.
We have 9 authorized positions. 8 of those are filled at this time.
Say it again?
We have 9 authorized positions, and 8 of them are currently working occupied. We have 1 vacancy.
And so they're on a rotating basis, or how many should we have at one time for public
Well,
safety?
obviously, you have to have at least 1, but depending on what we have, enough to cover the shifts. Busy shifts have 2. The less busy shifts have 1 on at one time. And there again, if there's 2 on a shift and somebody calls in sick or takes a vacation, then there's back to 1. So there's at least 1 on every shift.
Mr. City Manager, I really strongly believe as a threat to public safety, 1 at one time is not enough. I would like, and I know both of you have the skill and the capacity to do this, but we need to find a way to have 2 operating at the same time so that, if I understand the situation, correct me if I'm wrong, so that 1 can go on a lunch break and go to the bathroom and the other one can take in. In other words, am I getting this right or am I wrong?
I understand what you're saying, and actually we had a discussion on that earlier today, and we have some ideas that we were bouncing around.
Because I've brought this up twice, and I strongly feel it's a threat to public safety. So, I know we're in hard economic times, but there are certain things that we cannot mess with, we cannot undermine. And so I really feel that we need 2 so that they can relieve each other and there's always somebody covering, sitting in that seat.
Well, in the new budget, we budgeted for an additional dispatcher. And certainly, one of the other options is to go to Measure H.
Yes.
And request funding off of them, or at least a recommendation to come back to the council. So we can certainly bring you those options and see what you want to do with them.
All right. It's just going to be 2. I'm going to skip one. I believe in the name of transparency and accountability, it is important that the city staff and our legal department have in place systems and controls for project development, especially when the city has an involvement in funding. I strongly believe we have to be very cautious when using public funds. Therefore, I'm strongly requesting that we construct, maybe I might be a lack of words here, a written document, for a lack of a better term, a due diligence form that explains the complete due diligence for such projects. It communicates the standard or standardized guidelines, steps, or procedures regarding the relationship between the City of Calexico and a potential developer and project. Based on what I have learned, because I'm not coming up with these wonderful insights, I recommend that this document have at least these items in proper chronological order or sequential order. Number 1, a project application. Number 2, certified financials. Number 3, which I've never seen, I'm not saying it doesn't exist with these projects, but a business plan with timelines, goals, objectives, and measurements. Reference letters from lenders and a complete resume. And then timely updates as to what's happening with these projects.
We can certainly put a document together on any particular project. Most of these are already asked for. Anytime we develop a project, we're going to ask for financials, we're going to ask for scope of work, we're going to ask timelines, but we can certainly put a document together if that's what you want.
Maybe it's a simple thing I'm requesting, a checklist.
Checklist. Sure.
We did this one. Now we're moving on to this one. Oops, we're stuck at this one. Why?
Yeah.
Let's find out. Let's not skip 1 and go to 3. We got to go in a sequence.
The only other...
This could be something similar to what the grant coordinator did with all the different...
Sure. We can certainly get a checklist. The state has a perfect checklist. But we just need to make sure that we put in there enough information, and we will, that one size doesn't fit all, because it depends on what your funding source is and so on. But we can certainly work on something like that.
Thank you.
I'll have
Okay, Councilman Moreno.
One item. I'd like to see what action plan Measure H has within the next 6 months, maybe some long-term goals if we haven't had those before, some short-term goals. I know that they've done some work already, but I'd like to see an action plan that entails short and long-term goals, who's responsible, and perhaps maybe even a vision. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado?
I don't have any today.
No comments? No future agenda. Mayor Pro Tem Romero?
This was a second thought from earlier today. Can you, Chief Newjar, if you could provide a report mentioned earlier about the meter readers, the traffic officers? Parking enforcement officers. I got to remember that one. If you can, one of the discussions that was had before is that the revenues from the meters would cover, right, will be self-sufficient in regards to all the expenses of doing this job. Some kind of report where this is the revenues that are coming in, these are the expenses that are being incurred, and we are, well, you know what, I take that back. That's already in your, Judy, that's already in your packet, right? In the financial report? Isn't there one for the, parking enforcement officers? Isn't there already a report, a financial report on that? For the revenues that are coming in from the meters? Okay. This is, okay, thank you, sorry. It's already there. I have to look at it again. This is something that from the previous, from last week's special meeting in regards to redevelopment. I don't know if it's doable. I discussed it briefly with the city manager before the council meeting. There's like the fiscal advisory committee to give some kind of recommendations to the council, not necessarily that anything will go through them to be, that has to be brought to the council before they can go forward, a project of some sort. But I was looking at more from the board of directors of the redevelopment agency, where there is a commission appointment by the board of directors / council members, where they are kept abreast of what's going on with redevelopment, and that way they can be an extension to the community on the benefits of redevelopment. Again, it's really it's just a concept that there's so much from history. There's so much distrust what the redevelopment agency has done in the years past. Maybe something like this, they can come forward and I don't know, give some kind of feedback on any potential projects in the future. It reminded me of what Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado brought in the past in one prior meeting, some meetings ago, was regarding the ethics committee. Yeah, so it kind of helps make sure that on behalf of the citizens, even though we're supposed to be the extension of the citizens, is that there are other, I'll use Councilman Hodges' repeated statement, transparency. So anyway, this is just something, not for the next meeting, but maybe something can be put together where this committee or commission could be of some positive use.
And one of the comments that I had made earlier, and maybe the council can take it for consideration, the Economic Development Commission has been getting into that and what redevelopment is doing, and they've requested information on what projects we're doing and so on. So maybe the Economic Development Commission can be tasked with that for us, rather than forming a brand new commission and then having to staff it and so on.
Well, the thing with the Economic Development Commission, they're more focused on the economic development and not in the area of the concerns of the housing program, the first-time home buyer, the assist, what are the other programs where? CDBG. There's so many other projects that the economic development would not have any, not so much any interest in, but that would not be their role as a commission.
Well, again, we can certainly form another commission. And Benny is having a conversation in the back. He sits on the Economic Development Commission.
Mike, do you mind, Mike?
Mr. Horton, there's a conversation going on in reference to redevelopment and maybe the possibility of either forming a commission to address RDA issues. And my conversation was that the EDC, the Economic Development Commission, is already looking into a lot of redevelopment issues and what projects we're working on and so on. Would you care to address that?
No, ¿Al committee? No, tú estás hablando.
Will you be available for that commission?
There's many things that the redevelopment commission is working on. I'm sure Eric, who is also a member of the commission, can allude to. We're working on to the point where we're looking at the status of the redevelopment in reference to what the state, and like they said, they do have a, what's the word, moratorium, something, a stay?
It's a stay, right?
A stay on the issues. In reference to the, I hope I say this the right way, we're working on better relationships with Mexicali, but one of the things we're looking to do is to have a better understanding of the community, what redevelopment is about. This city is divided into different sections, and how many people really know what redevelopment is about? And not very many people. They say, well, some people think it's money that we can utilize for whatever. And I think by educating the community, the community will have a better understanding. And the reason why I say that is an educated community is a community that can understand how it works within their lives. I'm somewhat lost about what your conversation was about because we were having a little meeting back there too. But I don't want to make sure I don't.
It was what you're saying right now. In fact, here's a coincidence where you were working with the city manager, executive director of the redevelopment on putting this information together, reviewing the information, what redevelopment is doing. And I was asking right now, inquiring as a future agenda item, to creating a commission or a committee or a commission that would be focused on what redevelopment is doing, aside from economic development. But what you said a little while ago is that your Economic Development Commission is already doing that.
We're already working on it. In fact, you can look at our agenda for next week. We moved our meeting from...
I'm sorry, I've never seen the agenda, so I couldn't even comment on it.
Councilman Romero, you will see it tonight when I email it to you.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that you have a copy of it. But yet, to get on a note is that we're working to make the redevelopment a more viable part of what the city council... We're an instrument of you gentlemen and ladies. We are appointed by you to represent you in reference to the redevelopment. And what we do somewhat, in fact, it does reflect on you. And what we have done since we came aboard on the redevelopment is to make the redevelopment more of a viable part of this city. Where we're having, as you can see, we have taken up certain issues in reference to impact fees. And I think that if you were to look, we already put together a booklet, let's say a notebook, in reference to what we feel certain items are, but yet we are working with certain engineers, but yet we do not, and I repeat that, we do not base our decisions on just one group or individuals that come before us. And we are also preparing a letter, and one of the things that we're looking to do is to stay within protocol. I know Calexico does not have anybody that handles protocol, but we're going to try to do something a little bit with Mexicali different than what we have done before. Before, we'll send them a letter, we'll get together, have a little get-together, and that's it. We're going to try to have a viable commission that will inter-exchange ideas, because my own personal understanding is there's a lot of developers, investors who want to invest in Calexico. But what do we give the developer when he comes to Calexico in order to say what we're about, what Calexico, what the economical? We want to prepare something that when a developer comes into the city, we can present him something, a packet that has all the information that they can work with. And we're not just saying that just to feed you a bunch of noise. We're going to put that together. And I think in reference to our commission, and I'm sure your city manager can swear by it, we make sure that he looks at what we're going to do. We're not somewhat running amok doing what we want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. In that regard, I'll retract my future agenda.
Thank you.
I just had one quick comment with regard to Mr. Castro's items being pulled, which deal a lot with the financials. I feel we may be underutilizing our financial advisory committee. Would it be in our best interest to perhaps maybe invite them for this particular special meeting, and in the future maybe perhaps have them look at another set of eyes, looking at some of the warrants, some of the accounts payable, receivable, overtime reports, etc., and then maybe them reporting to you or giving a report to Judy, and then her reporting to us in the effort of saving time?
Excellent.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. That is a good option. I believe
that's it.
This is it.
I miss my novella.
Meet it adjourned. Thank you.